Okay then, so welcome everybody to this action-packed hour where I'm hoping to share with you some of the things that I do with ACT to make it work for me more effectively. And I've discussed with Gavin a list of topics to cover. Now, I know that a number of you are very proficient at using ACT. So, I don't want to go back to basics. I'm quite happy to move swiftly on if it's something that you already know about. And my plan is to just do a short PowerPoint presentation to just really whet your appetite for the things that we're going to cover using my live database. Always a bit scary, but I'm happy to show to show you the things that I actually do, so you can see how effective some of the things are that that use ACT and Swiftpage that you might not know about, particularly web surveys and the email marketing results tab. So as we go along, if you do have any questions at all, just pop them in the chat box, and that will be a way of you remembering the question. And then when I unmute, you can actually ask your question yourself, or I'll just read it from the chat box. So let's get started then. My name is Elene Marsden and I've been working with ACT for about 10 years now. I absolutely love the product, love the company, and I've known Swiftpage right from the beginning when they were first introduced to Sage ACT. So, it's great that, ACT has got a new owner, because I know over the next few years things are going to change and new things will be introduced. So it'll be interesting to watch that space. So primarily I do training in ACT and social media, so you'll today be introduced to some of the things that I do with ACT and social media, so hopefully that will be useful for you. So let me just go on and take a look at the agenda. Now, this is going to be covering an awful lot in this hour, but we'll see how much we can get through. And if I get the sense that some of you already know things, I'll move on. But there's a few shortcuts I want to make sure you're, doing with ACT, because sometimes we only know what we know. We don't know what we don't know. So hopefully there will be some new things that you'll pick up as we go along. Now, I have got a piece of software that is free to use, and it's absolutely amazing for adding contacts into ACT instead of having to type all their details in, and I'll be sharing that with you. Now, I know that Gavin and his team, they've upgraded to the latest version of ACT, version 16, and I'm not sure, how many of the rest of you are using that version, but there are a couple of things I want to talk about the latest version, in particular working with companies. So we'll certainly take a look at that. Now, if you're not already doing this, start from today, because putting contacts into dynamic ACT groups is where it's all happening. Particularly if you're going to be using ACT for all your emails, your drip marketing campaigns. If you've got dynamic ACT groups, then things will work a lot smoother. And if you're not sure what a dynamic group is, I'll demonstrate that to you later. Then I'll take you onto some of my websites and my social media sites so that you can see how I'm using web forms to collect leads and to grow my lists. So I'll give you a live demonstration of that later. And then we'll take a look at Swiftpage e-marketing. Now, I know that, Darren, I think it's .mailer you're using for your e-shots, and a lot of these providers offer the same service. They offer the facility to track your email open rates and to see who's clicked on links. But the advantage of using Swiftpage email marketing is that all the information on client click-through rates can be imported into your database, and you can see it inside your database. So if you're phoning a client up, the first thing you're going to want to do is take a look at how interested they've been in your email campaigns in the past. And it just gives you a bigger, better picture of the individual clients. So that's one of the advantages of using Swiftpage e-marketing services. And as well as that, it comes with a call list. So if you outsource your telemarketing, you can kind of send them lists of hot prospects, hot customers to call up. So that's the agenda. And as I said to you, primarily I'm going to be focusing on ACT version 16, which is the latest version released just this September. Obviously if you're using earlier versions, there may be some restrictions on what you can do. And by all means, do ask when we go to the live demo. So the big question is, we've got all these business cards, how are we going to get them into our database? I do a lot of networking myself. I do happen to have a scanner that I use to scan them in, but they're expensive, to be fair. The scanners are expensive, but this piece of software, so make a note of this. If you want me to demonstrate it in practice, I will certainly do that for the live one. It's called Contact Capture. And basically, I'm just going to see if anyone else uses this. If you use this at the moment, just pop into the chat box to say yes, you know about it, because that'll give me an idea. But you download the software, and anytime somebody sends you an email, or let's say you want to add somebody to your database and you're on their website, you can actually highlight the address, the contact's name, and then there's a keyboard shortcut. It's Control and C twice. And what it does, it opens up a web form, and all the details from the website show in the form, and then you press a button and you import it into ACT. And so you don't have to type all the information in each time. So it's really great. Now, it doesn't always work. It's not 100% foolproof, if you like, because when you go onto some people's websites, you can't find their address, so you haven't got anything to highlight and to copy. But most of the time, it's really effective. So how it works, it just grabs any company details from an email, from a PDF, from a website, and you can just copy it and import it into ACT. It's a fabulous tool. So that's the secret tool that I love to share with people. No longer secret, of course. So if you want a demonstration of that later, I'm certainly happy to show you that in practice. Now, it's all about, with any database, it's all about being able to segment your lists. And, each of the businesses represented here today will have their own way of segmenting. At its simplest level, you want to know who are your prospects, who are your customers, and perhaps who are your top 20%. Who are the customers that continue to buy from you and spend the most? And obviously then, once you've got them into groups, you can do specific marketing to them. So in order to do that, you really need to have rules set up so that when you add a contact to ACT, the rules will be checked and looked at, and if the contact meets the criteria, they'll drop automatically into that group where the rule is. So for example, if you wanted a group of everybody in Edinburgh, as soon as you put a contact in the database that's based in Edinburgh, they'll automatically drop into the Edinburgh group. So that's how these dynamic rules work, and I'm sure you're actually using those. But again, if it's something you'd like me to demonstrate, I'm happy to do so. Now, this is one of the new features in ACT version 16. you can see there we've got Richmond Containers, that's the company, and there's all the associated contacts that are part of that company. And you've always been able to do that, but it's been a bit of a palaver to actually do, because you've had to create the company and perhaps, update the contact records. But now, in the new version of ACT, what you can do is you can have it set up so that every time you add a new company to your database that's got, let's say, more than 2 contacts in it, you can set the rate there. You can just set a rule up to say, create a company and always associate contacts with it. So it's quite a smart new feature, and I quite like that there. So that's linking companies and contacts. And I'll just open up and have a look in the chat box now. How many of you are using companies and contacts and linking them? Yes, you are. Some of you are doing it. Yes, good. Most of you are doing that. Excellent. And with the new version as well now, you can delete companies from the company list view, which you couldn't do before. You had to delete them one at a time, so that's a new feature, which is good. Anyway, so let's press on. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is all the things that perhaps you didn't realise that you could do with Swiftpage. Yes, you've got the database. Yes, you've got the ACT software. But did you know that you can create surveys very similar to SurveyMonkey, which is a free tool, I know, but you can create and design surveys using Swiftpage to get feedback from your customers about products you might like to introduce them to. So surveys is one thing. They're usually combined, we usually call them surveys and web forms, but the web forms are fantastic, and I've got a couple of screenshots of those coming up, because you can put those on your website. You can put them on your social media sites too, for growing your lists. The other thing is email marketing. I've already touched on that. You've got full email marketing services from Swiftpage. And as well as that, there's an additional product called drip marketing. And that's really enabling you to set up sequences of messages that go out automatically. And it could be that you're running an event and you want to get the seats filled. Perhaps you're running a workshop, so that you can use drip marketing to help fill your conference. So, you can send out 3 or 4 messages before the conference, the day of the conference, and follow up with an email after the conference. So that's what we mean by drip marketing. And there's lots of different kinds of sequences that you can have. And we'll talk more about those later. Okay, so this is a screenshot of my website, betterACTnow.com, and on my Contact Us page you can see I've got a form there. Tell us about your requirements and we'll get in touch with you. And that is what we call an embedded Swiftpage form. So you get the code from Swiftpage and you just either get your web developer to do it for you, or if you've got content management systems, you can add it yourself. And then I get inquiries from that. People will leave their information. And I think, Gavin, I think you came from one of those forms, possibly from one of my websites. So there we are. That's a sample of a web form. Now this is a similar kind of form, and this is actually on my Facebook page, where if you can, people aren't necessarily going to leave their details unless you're giving something away for free. So on that occasion, I was giving away a download of an e-marketing training video. So, as soon as somebody fills out all their details, that information gets sucked right into my database. I don't go through an Excel spreadsheet and have to import them. It goes straight in. So there we go. And this one here, it's a form, but it's not an embedded form. This one, you can see, let me just see if I go on to the next. Yeah, you can actually see at the bottom of the page, it's click below to leave your details and we'll get in touch. And this is on my YouTube channel. And basically it's just a hyperlink. And when the person clicks on the hyperlink, it takes them directly to my form. There it is. Same sort of thing, leave all your details and we'll be in touch with you. So there's two types of forms, embedded ones and hyperlink forms. And of course, if you're using forms that are hyperlinks, you know, you can kind of put them on any sites like LinkedIn, Google+, you know, across the web, right? So, you know, I use those all the time. And then, of course, you can see the hyperlink for that form is really long. So I would probably want to use a shortener. And there are, you know, quite a few hyperlink shorteners. One of them, the one I use, is called bit.ly. Don't know if you've come across that, bit.ly. It's in the chat box right now. And what you do, you put one of those long hyperlinks into bit.ly and it shortens it. And it shortens it into a much sweeter, more memorable URL or hyperlink that is much more user-friendly and perfect for Twitter, because obviously, you know, that would take up most of your 140 characters. So those are the web forms and the surveys. So let's just now move on to the templates. Now, I mentioned email marketing and, you know, things like MailChimp, and I'm guessing .mailer. I haven't looked at that, but I'm guessing you can create all different kinds of templates. Now, this is an example of a very, very, very simple template that I use in Swiftpage. I've set it up so it mimics a regular email. So it's not like a newsletter, it's just a regular looking email. But of course, the beauty of it is I know who's opened it and I know who's clicked on any links. So compare this very basic, simple template to something which is more of a HTML style template. This is one from eBay, but Swiftpage enable you to, you know, set up your own HTML designed templates, and in fact you can import them. So if you've already got them designed by an external designer, they will in fact, you know, you can just import all the images and the HTML. So the two different kinds, and sometimes there's a place for a more personal, regular email looking template, if you like. So there we are. Now, of course, with any campaign, if you're sending out an e-shot, you want to know what are the results. And this will give you an idea of what the Swiftpage results look like. And I'm sure they are going to be comparable to other providers. So, you know, you can see my open rate there was 26.9%, which in actual fact is quite good. We're looking at 18 to 19% normal open rates. You know, for most businesses, but obviously it depends on your list and it depends, you know, which segments you're sending your e-shots to. But you can see I've got my bounces, I can see my unique opens, my unique clicks, my total clicks, etc. So it's all there in these results. And these are stored on the Swiftpage servers and they're stored there for 2 months. In a little while, I'll be able to show you how you can pull them into your database. Now, this is a screenshot of a call list, which is an extra service. You don't get this with the basic standard Swiftpage, but with this call list, it will calculate all the contacts that are most likely to want to buy your products and services, the ones that are hot, warm and mild, I think they call it, but the ones to focus on are the hot ones and the ones that have opened lots of times and clicked on your links. So, you know, this is an example of one that I sent out just recently, and at least 3 of the people on that list did sign up for one of my webinars, so it does work. These call lists do work. So this is what I wanted to show you for those that aren't using Swiftpage with ACT. This is just a screenshot of the lower half of my ACT contact window. You can see opportunities, notes, histories, etc. The tab all the way over on the right hand side is called marketing results, and this one particular contact actually opened my email 8 times and he clicked on one link. And it was an email that I sent out, and it was called "The Fortune is in the Follow-Up." So, that's the power of this stuff when it's inside your database. Okay, the marketing results tab. And I'm happy to show you that when we go to the live database demo shortly. So let's press on and talk about some of the drip marketing campaigns that you might want to use. Could you, in the chat window, let me know if you're actually using sequences of messages that go out to your contacts? Some people are, possibly. Yeah, if you could put it in the chat box right now, I'd be really interested in whether it is you're sending out sequences, because these are the kinds of sequences that you might want to create. So you might have a new customer sequence. So some people are using this, but not with Swiftpage. Okay, it's the same principle. So let's say, for example, somebody buys from you, and what you want to do is, over the next, say, 5 to 6 weeks, send them a regular 1 email a week, just to make sure you can prevent that buyer's remorse, just to perhaps introduce your company, perhaps, cross-sell, sell them something else, perhaps tell them, about the support that they can receive from you. And maybe one of the messages in the sequence could be, could you refer me to any of your contacts that might like the same thing that I do? So, new customer sequences are brilliant. You can have a sequence for new contacts that get added to the database, somebody that you meet perhaps out networking, another good one. You can't expect to get a customer straight away. You might have to nurture them for a period of time, depending on what it is you're selling. I've already mentioned event planning, and event planning is great if you've got a conference or a course or something coming up. You can send out a sequence of messages for that. And you might want to look at people who haven't ordered from you for a while, and then send them a sequence of messages to entice them back to order more. And as I said, you've also got the opportunity, if you do collect names from social media sites, you can pop them into your sequence of messages, and it could be very similar to the new contacts message. And then the final one I was going to just tell you about is if you're launching a new product. It may be you're telling them it's 2 months to launch, 1 month to launch, it's going to launch this week. Would you like a free sample? Anything, but sequence so that people, get excited. And it's the balance, of course. You have to be very careful with drip marketing, because if you're sending out too much stuff, people will unsubscribe. But that's the idea behind the drip marketing. And there's an example of one there, prospect one. So somebody fills out their details. It's a website lead. They might have 1 email, thanks for your inquiry. Email 2, this is our range of products. Email 3 might be a specific trade offer for you. And then at the end, here's, take our survey. We'd love to know what you think. And here's a free gift. So it's a sample one there. So our databases then, yes, we're very proud of them. I'm sure you're proud of yours, all these contacts that, we add regularly. It's a growing, evolving beast, but it's not just a database. It's managing your sales process. And I know Gavin uses opportunities there. How many of you use the dashboard to track your opportunities in ACT, and use, in particular, the sales gauge? The sales gauge on the dashboard is a very, very useful tool, because you can actually see what your numbers are like from month to month, quarter to quarter, and see that in a very visual way. So, as I say, yes, it's a database, but it's so much more besides, because what we're wanting to do is move people from suspects to prospects, customers, to the repeat customers and the raving fans, of course, ideally. Okay, so some people are saying they're not sure how to configure the dashboard. Okay, well, we'll see just where we are today. It may be that you may be interested in a session purely on the dashboard, because there's a lot to it. Okay, so it's always having the end in mind, really, that we're converting prospects to customer. And I thought what I would do next is just show you the steps that I go through to put somebody into my database, because I don't just type their details in or use my contact capture. There are several steps that I do, and I thought I'd like to share those with you today, so that you'll have this to follow along later on. So the first thing I do, every single contact that I meet, whether it's networking or anybody that emails me, I put them into the database, because I like to think that I'm a resource, that if I can share and help other people in their business, then that's good. So it's a powerful tool. So I put all my contacts into my database, however big or small, spotty or fluffy. So they go in, and I am particularly interested in recording their ID status. So for that, it might be customer, prospect. I've got a few other ones that I use. So the ID status is important to me. I also like to know where the contact came from. So did I meet did it come from a website inquiry? Where did the contact come from? And then a useful one for me, because I do go out and do a lot of networking, I want to know, where did I meet them? Because if I can remember the networking event that I met them, the chances are I can pull their face to my mind, or I can kind of remember the event. So these are important to me, and you may have your own fields that you've made default fields that people have to fill out. So that's something that's step 2, making sure I fill out those fields. Then the other thing I do, as soon as they're in the database, I pop along to the Web Info tab. How many people are using the Web Info tab in ACT? If you type in the chat box, I'd be interested, because this is an automatic step for me. When I add someone new, this is an example here, Stephanie Stansfield, she was added to the database, and I go and connect with her on LinkedIn, because the chances are people will connect with you on LinkedIn. They may not read your email, but they'll respond to a LinkedIn request. And I know some of you have just said that you use Google Maps for the Web Info tab. Yes, that's really powerful. You can see how far away you are from your client. You can even, with that particular area, you can even see how much fuel it's going to cost you to travel there. But so I do have a look at Google Maps. You can even see their office as well. It gives you an aerial view of their office or where they're based. But the LinkedIn aspect of the Web Info tab is fantastic. And over the last year, I've just been, connecting with people on LinkedIn, and I think I've built up my connections to about 1,500 now through doing this quite methodically. Every time I add someone new, connect with them on LinkedIn. Then the other thing I'll do in that Web Info tab, I've just seen a question come in about how do you set up a new one like Yell, etc. Yeah, it is possible to edit the Web Info tab. It involves a little bit of tweaking, but you can do it. I set up a new one recently because I was interested in seeing if it would work with Hoover's, the big US database, and yeah, it is possible. I'll show you that later. So yes, from the Web Info tab, I'll go and check out their website. And this contact of mine, she's from Huntsville, Alabama, met her in Hollywood. She's a lovely lady, great at social media. And she's got a great website, because you can see top right hand corner of her website, she's got her social media links, which means that I can go and follow her on Twitter, I can connect with her on Facebook, and if I want to, I can follow her blog posts. Now, not everyone's website is as good as that and gives you the opportunity to connect with them on social media, but if they're promoting themselves on social media, why wouldn't you also want to connect with them there too, and be in touch with them there? So that's an example of a great website, which means that you can kind of join up all the dots and really keep in touch. And the other thing, there's something called social updates, which is new in version 16. The tab isn't new, the tab's been there, but it's much better in version 16. So if you want me to show you how that works later, I'm happy to do that. So there we are, that's step 4 of the things I do. Then I also have a standard ACT email template. Isn't Swiftpage, it's not one of my e-marketing ones, it's just a regular ACT template, a nice to meet you email. I'm just sending it to one person at a time, and I usually send out an email with one of my favourite YouTube videos on it, the money tree, because I like it and I think it just, it's not, I'm not selling, I'm just connecting with them, so it's sort of a gentle, nice to meet you email. And then, of course, ideally, once they're in your database, you've really got to keep in touch with them regularly. So those are the steps that I would recommend you take when you add someone new to your database. And now we are going to go over to a live demo of my database. I'm going to keep the video recording. I might cut it at the end and might just send you this bit that we've, the first 30 minutes, see how it goes, because it might be that the sound quality isn't good for questions, but we'll see. So let's pop over. I'm just going to unmute you all now. Let's have a look. Come to unmute all. Hopefully you're all able to speak if you want to, or you can put your question in the chat box. I'm going to come over to my ACT database and let's have a little look. There we are. Right, so first of all, let's just go into the detail view. So this is ACT 20, is version 16, 2014. Okay, actually there is quite a lot of noise. I think I might mute everyone. I think I might do that. I've muted you all. It's probably best if you put your questions in the box. It's probably easier. So my first thing is to show you some shortcuts. Okay, I'm going to keep an eye on the questions now. So let's just look up my record. Okay, so first of all, if I want to quickly find a record inside my database, I'm just going to come over here and search for the person's name. But if I wanted to maybe look up everyone in the city of Ipswich, town of Ipswich, you can right click over a field and look up city. I said Ipswich, and there we are, 4 in Ipswich. That can't be right. That doesn't seem like many. But you get the idea. I can take any field at all and I can right click, let's say over the postcode field. Right click, starts with IP4 and there's the list, 130 postcode IP4. So that's a quick way of getting information on the screen quite quickly. And I just thought I'd throw that one in. Did anyone not know that? Put it in the chat box if you didn't, if it's new to you. That quick lookup. New to me, James. Okay, it's really good. It saves you having to go up here, look up, come down here to the field and struggle away. You literally can, let's say I want to go to my email, right click, look up email, look up everybody that hasn't got an email. Does not contain data. Who has not got an email in my database? Quite a lot. Over 1,000 haven't got emails, but never mind, I'm working on that. I did tell you this is my live database here. The builder's house and all that kind of thing. Didn't know you could look up on the different fields. Yes, you can. Whatever fields you've got, you can look up. And the other thing that some people don't know about, and this is quite useful, when you go to look up on the menu, can you see previous? It shows you the previous lookups. So if I wanted to look up, I don't know, everybody in postcode IP4, I can go straight to that lookup. So it stores them during the day. So if you've been, creating quite complicated lookups, then the most recent ones will show up there. Lookup previous. So I find that quite helpful, rather than keep going back, particularly if it's a lookup where you've drilled down. How long will that store them for the day? I'm not sure of the exact number. Do you know, I want to say it's more than 9, but it might be just stuck on 9. Let me just try one more. Let's just look up County of Suffolk. Sorry, I'm basing it all around Suffolk here, aren't I? Look up previous. Yeah, okay, so it stores the last 9 lookups. Right. And it will, but it won't, when you close Act down and you open it up again, they're gone. So it's just literally for the time you're working on the database during that day. So there we are. So I need to now check in with you how many people do not use dynamic groups. Or how many people would like a demonstration of dynamic groups. Yeah, so yes please. Okay, right, okay then, good. So I'm going to come over to groups, and here I've got one of my networking groups. It's called BNI Wolsey, and it's a group I go to every week. I've got a group of 20 businesses that meet for breakfast and we pass referrals to each other. And over on the right hand side you can see add remove contacts, and in the lower half of the window I've got a rule that says if somebody has in their ID status field the words BNI Wolsey, put them in that group. And at the moment I've actually got 20 people in the group, but we've had a new member who joined today, and I'm going to show you how it works. So if I go over to contacts, I'm going to look this person up. Chris Annis has just joined. There he is. He's an accountant. He's just joined, and so I'm going to put in there BNI Wolsey. Now as soon as I save, and I can use Control and S to save it, right? As soon as I save the record and I pop over to groups, you can see that now in that BNI Wolsey group I've got 21 members, and that person Chris Annis is in there. Let's have a look, there he is. So in other words, you haven't got to put people into groups thinking about it carefully. You set a rule up that's based on one of the fields and they automatically get populated. So you could have all kinds of different groups. One of the ones that I use regularly is, this is one that ACT provides for you. You've all got this unless you've deleted it. It's a recently added contacts group. Let's just take a look at the rule. Add remove contacts. So it's saying that if the contact create date is within the last 8 days, but you could change that if you want to know who did I add to the database yesterday. So you can change the rule. You can click the edit button and say the create date within the last, let's just say 4 days, and click OK. And OK one more time. There's the rule updated, and there's the people that I've added within the last 5 days. I can't remember how many I said now, and I can look them all up. And it's mostly you guys today on the webinar: Richmond Containers, Providore, RCA, Clyde Paper, and a couple of other people that I've added. So, dynamic groups with the rules in place, really worth doing. Definitely worth doing. And I've actually got a PDF file I can send you which goes through how to do this if you're not sure. But you will have the recording. You can play it and take a look at it. So the next thing I want to show you is I'm going to go over and take a look at the web info tab, just because somebody did ask a question about that. So let's just try this person here. Let's just try his record. The new person to my networking group. So yes, the contact website. Oh, look at that. LinkedIn, Twitter. He's got a couple there. Brilliant. Facebook. The only problem with this is it doesn't link to the Facebook business page. It's a Facebook profile, so I don't use it for that reason. Driving directions, pretty self-explanatory. The LinkedIn. So I'd come along to LinkedIn and I take a look. Chris Annis, there's a picture of him reminding me what he looks like. Of course, we've already connected, but I would, literally from there, hit the connect button and just say, just great to meet you. Would you like to connect on LinkedIn, etc. So you do have to log into your LinkedIn profile though in order to have this set up. So Hoovers, that was the one that I experimented with the other day, and what that one does is it actually pulls out the company information. Let's just see. There we are. Pulls out the company information and displays the results. There we go. That's him. See details. Let's just see. I'm not sure what this is going to pull up. Okay, there we go. Okay, so obviously this is live, and I hadn't planned to show you this, but if you want to add your own, you would click Edit Links, and from here, let's click the Hoovers one. You'd find the URL of the website, so it's hoovers.com, and then you have to customize the last bit of it to pull out the necessary fields, and you click the Advanced Edit, and you can see that what I had to do in order to get this to work was I had to use one of the fields and add it to the source URL. And you might have to play around with it. Somebody said they wanted to add Yell. You'd have to experiment with it and take a look at how Yell works in terms of how it looks up companies and then match the URL to what ACT requires. And there's a bit of trial and error. There's no definitive, easy way to do it. Hope that's answered the question. Right, okay, so somebody has asked me a question now about, can you do e-shots without having all the Swiftpage branding at the bottom of the email? What a lovely question. You can. You can't remove it because that obviously would be against all the CAN spam laws, etc. But what you can do is you can use the enter button on the keypad to push it down, so it's way down the page, so lower than the fold, and you can keep hitting enter and it goes right the way down to the bottom, and so they don't see it. So that's one way around it. It's a workaround. If they were to scroll to the very, very bottom of the email, they'd see it, but it wouldn't be in their face. So anyone else from Richmond Containers got a question for me? Otherwise I will plough on through my list. But if there are any specific questions, now is a good time to write them in the box. Okay, so while I'm waiting to check, can you demo the dynamic groups? Did you see me do that just now? Or are you looking for something a bit more than that? Are you looking for the drip marketing? Sorry, I missed it. Gavin, you missed it. It will be in the recording anyway, so you will be able to play that back. Right, so then let's take a look now at the marketing results tab. So hang on a minute before I do that. Priscilla, this doesn't really link. But what is the best way to log a physical mail shot sent to a whole group of people? Okay. Do you mean a physical mail shot? So if you wanted to send something to a group, okay then, so I understand. So you'd look up your list, select, then press history button. However, if there are more than approximately, say, 1 to 200, it tends to crash and the history item fails. Okay, well in that case, if it's a large number, I haven't tested that personally myself with a large number, but say for example I wanted to, let me go to my groups and have a look. There's my Richmond Containers group. Look everybody up, maybe select everybody, right click, let's just take a look and see if I can do this now. Just going to see if I can record history on there. Let's just have a look. Okay, so I need to get back to you on that because I'm not seeing what I'd expect to see. There's probably another way to do it. Okay, so let's just take a little look. Take one and history, right click, record history. And from there, let's just see, probably if I'd highlighted everybody, they would all show as recorded history from all of them and then type it all in. But what you're saying, Priscilla, is that when you try and do, say, 200, it crashes. There may be a restriction, and it may be that we would have to check with Swiftpage support and see if they've actually got a maximum number that it would work with. I don't know. Okay, right, so I'll have to park that one for now. So James is asking about smart tasks. I'll talk to you about that in a moment, but let's just press on with the marketing results. So this marketing results tab is pretty clever. It's going to access my Swiftpage account. I'm going to go to somebody that I know receives my emails, just look him up, and when we see his record, Colin Stewart, in the lower half of the window, because I've pulled the results into the database, when I go to the e-marketing history, I can see all the templates I've ever sent him, all the e-shots I've ever sent him, all the results are showing here. So that one he opened twice, this one, he didn't open that one, but you get the idea. You can just go through and have a look, but he was particularly interested in that one. And that stays with you, whereas your reports, you know, the reports where I showed you the graphs, they only stay on the Swiftpage servers for 2 months. This is why you've got to pull the information into your database, and this is how you do it. You come over to the Swiftpage e-marketing and you come over to the results tab, and in the results tab, if you've sent, and look, I've got lots of information that I need to bring into ACT. I won't do it now, but I would toggle everything and submit, and it would update everyone's records so I'd know, you know, if they've opened emails, clicked on links. But what tends to happen is that most of the activity is in the first 24 hours. But that's the place where I pull the information back into ACT. Okay, and while we're looking at this tab or this dialog box, the first one is about sending your emails, about who you're going to send them to. The second tab is where you pull people into your database who've filled out forms. And what I did earlier on, I filled out a form on my website so that you could see an example of one. There's one there. This person, it was only me playing around, you'll soon see, this person filled out one of my forms, and all I do is add contacts to ACT. And if there were 20 of them, it would go through them one at a time. Say, do you want to add this person? You can add them all in one go, but I like to check because some of them might be spam. This one is Ozzy Osbourne from Black Sabbath. Yeah, you wouldn't believe he was on my website, would you? But there we are. And if I want to, then I could just add a new contact, add this contact and all others. So let's add him. And you can see one record was added to ACT. So that's how that thing works. So there were 3 things to show you. How to send the e-shots, and I'm not going into all the details there. And the survey, and then the results. Now, somebody has asked a question. Can you send Swiftpage emails without recording in the history tab? Not if you want to use this marketing results thing, because that's how it works. So for example, you go and have a look at your history and you can see there's all of these Swiftpage history records showing, and that's how the results get updated. So all those results that are standing by that need to be updated, all those zeros change to 01, opens 02, etc. And that's how the marketing results tab works. So you need them. But obviously you can kind of filter them. If you don't want to see them, you can kind of choose what things you show in history. So if you don't particularly want to see that, you should be able to just remove those from view. So you've just got the business history showing. So that is a workaround, really. Renaissance asking me that question there. Was it Renaissance or was it someone else? No, it was Webinar that asked about that. So can you send email appointment confirmations to multiple contacts at one time with different details on the confirmation? I don't think you can do different details. So for example, if let's just find Gavin. Let's bring Gavin up. If I wanted to confirm an appointment with Gavin and I go and schedule a meeting, I'm guessing you're talking about send email invitation. I'm guessing you're talking about that. An email appointment. Yeah, okay. With different details. Not unless you do them individually. If it's, you'd have to send them individually if you want to put different things in here, because if you add more than one contact to the meeting, they're all going to have the same information, so you'd have to do them separately, I'm afraid. Don't think there's a workaround with that. Okay then, so smart tasks. Somebody has asked about the smart tasks. So I have to say that I tend to use drip marketing more than smart tasks, but I've been working with a client recently who's been using them. So I've been testing them, and we'll come up to schedule, manage, let's have a look, schedule, manage smart tasks. And basically what these things do, if you're not sure about how smart tasks work, you can have a whole series of events taking place that follow, a sequence of events. So that, for example, a new contact welcome smart task. You add somebody to the database, and you can set up some rules so that if something is recorded in the ID status field, that triggers this smart task, and they get a welcome email. And then maybe you schedule another task to call them up in a month's time. So that's how these things work. They can be literally based on sequences of scheduled activities, or they can involve Swiftpage e-marketing messages. So, for example, let's take a look. Birthday e-marketing messages. So if it's somebody's birthday on this day, pull out one of the Swiftpage template messages and send them a happy birthday email. If you are going to be using smart tasks, one thing to remember though is that what you do have to do, you have to have ACT running all the time, in order for this to work. So it's got to be on and running for these to work, unless it, particularly if, although it depends on what time scale you've set the smart tasks to run. How many of you are actually using smart tasks successfully in your business? Quite useful to know there. No, we don't. Okay, we use single step smart tasks for scheduling telemarketing. We use them for brochure and sample follow-up, says Priscilla. So I guess if you send a brochure, then the next smart task is to follow up, I guess, with a call. But potentially they could be very complicated. I did speak to Swiftpage support recently about how many sequences of steps you could have, and they didn't seem to think there was a restriction. So you're not restricted according to them, but I haven't tested that myself. To be very honest, I don't use them myself in my business. But there we are. Hopefully that's given you a view of what they look like. And if you were interested, play around with the sample ones that they give you. And in order for them to be tested, you want to make sure that you have like one day between each of the steps so that you can keep an eye on them and monitor them. Okay, so that's smart tasks there, very, very briefly, I know, going through that. So let's close that down. I'm just going to check to make sure I haven't missed any questions. It's quite hard to read the questions and demonstrate at the same time. Okay then, so somebody is asking a question about on new history where you have selected type as call and then you have result complete attempted. Can you add to the result options? For example, we want to add telemarketing so we can analyse calls. Well, you can actually create your own activity types. You're not restricted to the ones that ACT gives you. So, for example, I've actually been experimenting myself with these. You can have whatever activity types you want. Working on business was one that I was using for a while. So if you want to have your own telemarketing activity types, you can set them up, and it's under schedule and manage activity types, and there you can create whatever ones you want. So if I show you the one that I had, working on business, edit, working on business completed, working on business not completed, and you can use your own different icons, etc. So yeah, you can, and obviously then that will drop into your reports too. So that's how you would do that. So we're coming up towards the end of our hour, and I'm just going to say that we've covered a lot, and there's obviously an awful lot more that we didn't manage to cover. We didn't manage to cover the dashboards, etc. But going back over to my PowerPoint, I just want to say that, in fact, if anyone is interested in learning more about what I do and the ACT training courses I've got a whole sequence of 10 videos that go into all the things that we've covered and more besides today, and they're £97 plus VAT for the course. But to thank you very much for being with me today, if you wanted to, if you use this code that I can send across in an email to you all, then you'll get them for 15% off. So that's just my gift to you today.